Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from news about Desawe Kanda. Coming up tonight, get into the issues as President John Dramani Mahama gives an indication of how his government intends to proceed with Ghana's International Monetary Fund agreement. We have the details, including some expert analysis and reactions, especially when we talk about the settling of bondholders and matters arising. Minister for Education Haruna Idrisu announces the return of Parents Teachers Associations, PTAs, for public schools. We ask, is this the beginning of bigger reforms to see in the education sector? It's a conversation we have tonight. Also, Wale Wale still under curfew following a spillover of the Boko conflict, much to the displeasure of the people in the area, but the authorities insist it is for the greater good. We have the regional minister joining us tonight for a conversation here on Ghana Tonight. As always, you're an integral part of the conversation. Let's hear from you. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Let's get talking. Well, we have an update as well on the cholera outbreak. The death toll now hits 40. Concerns are coming up. Stay with us and let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
Minister for Education Haruna Idrisu has announced the reintroduction of Parent-Teacher Association in public schools at the launch of a rehabilitation project for public basic school infrastructure in Okaikwe South. The Education Minister stated that the initiative aims to empower parents to contribute to the development of schools nationwide.
I accept it as a wake-up call. He is urging government and the states that when we promise free, the free will mean investment in infrastructure, investment in textbooks and exercise books, investment in the quality of teachers. He assures me again that he would invest in motivating teachers in this particular area to give their best to our young people.
Residents of Wale Wale in the northeast region are beginning to feel the economic impacts of the curfew imposed on the community. This crucial trade hub, serving as a vital thoroughfare for goods from Burkina Faso and neighboring border towns like Bunkpurugu to Togo, face significant disruptions as nighttime activities have come to a standstill.
We are losing too much, especially our business. In the night, they can't come out and buy things, especially the food, the water, and other things.
20 cities or 50 cities. A day they can spend 20 cities, 30 cities. Means they have to run and leave me alone, and also have children at least 4 or 5. How can I take care of them? And as of this person is moving, means I don't know where I'm going to turn. I'm in Walwali to make business, maybe. But the grace of God, I also make something out of them.
Around 52 kiosks have been consumed by fire in the slum community of Tantra Hills. The community is in shock, with residents grieving the loss of their belongings and facing the harsh reality of homelessness. Although the fire service has managed to control the flames, the damage has already taken a heavy toll.
Lack of a fire station within a big area like this. Look at a big area like Tantra Hill, Achimota, Dome, Kwabenya, Taifa. There's no single fire station in this whole area. So whenever there's an emergency, there are plans as to move all the way from Abilenke. Look at the traffic situation that we are dealing with. So we did well to get here, barring all the unfortunate circumstances on the way. We got here within 10 minutes and realized that the fire was fast spreading. So it was important that we identify the unaffected structures or buildings and try to fight the fire to contain it from further spread. So we're able to, it took us a bit of an hour, but we're able to confine the fire and put it under control. As of now, it's under control, but it's not extinguished.
The 4-day cholera vaccination exercise in Greater Accra, aimed at vaccinating 300,000 people, ended today. The campaign, targeting individuals aged 1 and above, excluding pregnant women, will next move to selected districts in the central region, a key outbreak area. While Greater Accra has the highest number of confirmed cases, Efutu Municipality and Aguna West remain major hotspots. Health officials are working urgently to control the spread, with Ghana Health Services Dr. Kwame Amponsa-Chiano explaining the vaccine acquisition criteria.
The vaccines only add to the arsenal. We're almost going to Adan East, but remember, after we got the vaccine, then the epicenter changed. So, as a country, you need to take a bold decision. Where do you go? You sink to where the cases, with all the other interventions. Remember, the vaccine is only an add-on. All the other interventions for lingering on for a long time, eventually cases going down. Then you have a place where you think that you have a lot of cases. You go there, and then within 7 days, cases are gone.
The Ghana Football Association has descended heavily on Elmina Sharks, owned by a former presidential candidate, after violence erupted at their league match on Sunday. Sharks midfielder Jay Asamoah faces a potential 2-year ban after he attempted to assault the match official in their 0-1 loss to Swedru All Blacks. The club's general manager, Kelvin Abuaje, has also been arrested by the Ghana police. Their actions have been roundly condemned by Sharks owner Pakwesi Ndum.
If I was not there, to make everybody go away and let the match continue. Don't take a clip of it and say, shouldn't someone take responsibility? It is the Ghana Football Association. They take responsibility. They must make everybody safe. They must make the game entertaining. They must pay the referees appropriately. They must pay everybody well, not just they take FIFA money and go and relax somewhere.
It's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. Coming up next, Wale Wale still under curfew following a spillover of the Boko conflict, much to the displeasure of the people in the area, but authorities insist it is for the greater good. This is a conversation that, in fact, has many legs, and we're going to get into it shortly, because the Regional Security Coordinating Council is convinced, indeed, that the curfew is the way to go, but residents of Wale Wale in the northeast region are beginning to feel the economic impact of the curfew imposed on the community. Now, this crucial toll thoroughfare for goods from Burkina Faso and neighboring border towns like Burugu to Togo face significant disruptions as nighttime activities have come to a standstill because of this curfew. Take a look at this.
Too much, especially our business. In the night, they can't come out and buy things, especially the food, the water, and other things. Anyway, and I do not most of let's say a section, your copy, the only in an area, sure. The amount done up from
A day they can spend 20 cities, 30 cities. Means they have to run and leave me alone, and also have children at least 4 or 5. How can I take care of them? And as of this business moving, means I don't know where I'm going to turn. I mean, Walwali to make business, maybe, but the grace of God, I also make something out of them. So it's like the KP doesn't favor us, because in the sense where that close of 6 o'clock to go to a house, what am I going to do again?
Well, so this is the issue, and these are the concerns of the residents in Wale Wale, the northeast region. Now, let's get a bit more detail into this. Ibrahim Tia is the Northeast Regional Minister. He's joining us on Zoom right now. So, Tia, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight.
Good evening.
If you can put your video on for me, and so that we can have this conversation very quickly. Great.
Yeah, good evening.
Well, thank you for joining us. I mean, you've heard the residents' concerns there, and I know that this is one that you are aware of. But what is the Regional Security Council's response to their concern that because of the curfew, nightlife has come to a standstill? That's the time that they make money with the businesses that they are doing as well. How are you engaging them to understand that what's going on is for the greater good?
Thank you so much. And
hello?
Thank you so much. And I really share their concerns, and then it's not a pleasant situation. And I think that we are really looking at the situation on the ground, and as much as possible, we will reconvene, look at the situation, and make recommendations for us to see how it can be reviewed subsequently. I think they are really complying with it. It's not pleasant. It's not a pleasant decision at all to let your kinsmen, your family go to bed at 6 p.m. whilst other places, economic conditions, businesses are going on. I think we will look at it right from Saturday to date. I think, yeah, the situation is relatively calm on the ground. And then...
No, I can hear you. Please speak.
Yeah, I think we are looking at the situation. I really share their concerns. Yes, it's not a pleasant situation just going to tell people that, look, this situation is out of hand for that matter. I think the curfew was the only way that we should go. No, certainly, I share their concerns. But however, yes, when incidents like this happen, certainly, yes, there will be. But however, yes, when incidents like this happen, certainly, yes, there will be investigations to see what really caused them. Yeah, indeed. Because you see, we started an engagement process with the community. And when I arrived, there were victims at the hospital that I really went and visited, where I took care of their medical bills. Then there were others who needed further medical care at Tamale. I did that. So, and the chief's house is also just close to the hospital. So after that, I decided passing to greet the chief and to tell me, well, we started this engagement series in the communities. And unfortunately, the skirmishes didn't end and continued. And as a result of that, there were directives that, look, your engagements are not yielding the desired results. And for that matter, there's really the need for the curfew to be imposed. So as stakeholders, I really needed to engage the chief, because I started the dialogue series with him. So when I got to the palace, and then we started the discussion, and I told him that, look, this is the situation that has unfortunately unfolded, and for that matter, let's bear with it and see in the few days if there is relative calm, we can plead with the authorities that based on our recommendations, then the curfew will be lifted. Well, as we're in the house, the youth were massing up. Then we finished. How to come out was a problem. So we remained as hostages inside the palace of the chief until the joint team, the military and the police came and rescued us.
I see. But what's the root cause of this happenings in Walawale, as we're seeing? The bus that was attacked, we understand 7 people so far hospitalized, and then also the spillover from the Boko conflict. But what exactly is the cause? That is, if the regional security has had any indication as we speak.
Yeah, I think the root cause is just the skirmishes in Boko, the conflict in Boko. I think that is the cause. So anytime there are attacks on the Bolga-Boko road, then we have reprisal attacks in Walawale, per my briefing by the Regional Security Committee. So, so as a result of that, we really tried engaging our counterparts in the Upper East, my colleague there, so that we can have joint BRICSEC meetings and see how we can get the issue resolved. Today, as we should have been holding our first BRICSEC meeting with the Upper East Regional Security Committee, but because of these issues, we have to hold on to see how the process, how we can maintain calm within that corridor before we can go ahead with the engagements. And I think His Excellency, our President John Dramani Mahama, has taken a bold step in addressing this issue by visiting Boku and visiting Naleru, and then the subsequent House of Chiefs meeting that started in Kumasi last Friday. I think these are the possible steps that are going on, and I think that if we make progress with this issue, with this dialogue, I hope that we can find a lasting solution to this decade issue in Boku.
I see, but the death toll on the bus that was attacked, as we speak, we reported 7 as of this morning. Any update on that, or the number of persons who were killed as a result of this attack on the bus is still 7?
Well, I left Walwale Saturday evening, and as of now, for today, I was so busy, I've not picked any updates from the hospital as of yet. But I will be doing that immediately after this engagement. I'll get to the ground to find out the real situation, and maybe by tomorrow I can brief you adequately on the numbers so far.
I see, because we understand among the 7, there was a Burkinabe and 3 Togolese nationals who were shot by the attackers. Has there been any communication from the Burkinabes or the Togolese about this incident?
No, I've not received any communication from them as of yet.
And so do you intend to, as part of the investigation, reach out to the other side to at least inform them about what has happened?
Precisely so. It is our duty to do that.
Okay. And now, maybe in a minute, you wanted to speak to the people there to understand why you're doing this. So, quickly before we do that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. The Mabisi, Nambabisi, Suhne, Bunshile, the Nwa Alema, Be Kefusha Kanchano, Yamane, Kapabunshile, the Mahatas Asasufu, Kamumba to Suma, to Bula to Susika, Tinyati and Nishim, Kasudua Chana Surmazu, Katubo Surin Fablante, Gomnanti, Katinya Nishim, Yisidara, Kefu Makachati, Dama Wakata Sahanla, Tinyala Muslim Dema, the Butuni Wakata Sahapa, Katipiambe, Judy Puni, Unkutuin and Jim, na wone. So as anyala ya to asisa ampas na zanchante da birguma razia banko dunko sa yung bakuna to nkusi nzonko ya su ne ka fablentia te basu bo lala amata za san no suguru kacha ya to asisa ambe su ma zuma abalge tenne te zubran de ma te tendan de ma tenna de ma ne te pasta de ma ne te assemblement de ma ka te gbanye te ne sim ka to ama anyange ndole tenga na wonen dia surugo ba man karma mbire ntuzwa nda kane nda shile banda tatin na yirma na malantin kuduni ne bancan to ne za sa karinya la sur mazu attacks ma na malantin kabaduni kacha katinya su do antisi ka sur ma nyangan duru balam ka sokam nyangan channa shapam na on abarkan.
Great. I'm sorry, it's just you telling them that this is for their own good, right? Maybe in summary, just summarize what you just said to them in English for us. 30 seconds, quickly.
Yeah. I was just appealing to my kinsmen that in the unfortunate incident, I lost my own brother when we were held hostage in the chief's palace. So I'm also traumatized as much. And I'm pleading with them that let us lay down the arms. Let us consult. Let us engage. Let us talk to one another. I know economic activities have come to a standstill, especially those selling at night and even the hospitality industries. And I'm pleading, let us lay down, sit down, engage properly, and then find a lasting solution to the problem, and then minimize these skirmishes on the highway. However, we'll also go back and appeal to the government once there's relative calm to see how this curfew will be reviewed. We are Muslims, and certainly around 6:30, 7 o'clock that we have our prayers together. Now that we cannot have that, and it's a source of worry. I think that when we think of all these things, they are not too pleasing. And I'm pleading that let's find a lasting solution to the problem. And then maybe we also appeal to the National Security Authority for them to review the curfew or even lift it completely. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And we'll keep an eye on this and be monitoring how the events play out. But we'll definitely wish you well on that one as well as things play out. Ibrahim Tia is the Northeast Regional Minister, giving us updates on the situation there. This is Ghana Tonight, and our correspondents in the area crisscrossing the length and breadth of this particular Wale Wale area and its environs to assess the impact of this curfew on the activities there. So stay with us in our subsequent bulletins. But coming up next year on Ghana Tonight, government pays fourth DDEP coupon, set aside some 9.7 billion Ghana cedis for the fifth coupon, and the details coming up shortly. That is coming up next year on Ghana Tonight, and this is one that we are also getting into because this statement came through not too long ago, and the government of Ghana successfully settled the fourth domestic debt exchange program coupon, demonstrating its commitment to meeting financial obligations and restoring confidence in the economy. I'm going to put a statement on the screen right now, signed by Phyllis Kwachofosu, Minister of State for Government Communications, spokesperson to President John Mahama, confirming that the Ministry of Finance, following a directive from President John Mahama, has honored the payments. Now, the copy of the statement, portions of it are put on the screen, and this directive today, the 17th of February, honored the payment in cash of over 6 billion Ghana cedis to all domestic debt exchange program bondholders. And government has also honored the payment in kind portion of the 3.46 billion Ghana cedis deposited and into the respective bondholders' securities accounts in line with the DDEP memorandum. It also continues. Additionally, government has also paid into the debt service recovery CD account, that's the sinking fund, an amount of 59.7 billion Ghana cedis as a buffer for the fifth DDEP coupon that will fall due in July and August 2025. So that is another thing to also take into consideration. We understand the government has also paid this amount of 59.7 billion into the sinking fund. And we'll hear President John Mahama talk about it during that Bloomberg interview about the establishment of the sinking fund again. And you know that the former Finance Minister, Seteke, has been talking about this because this is one that the first NDC, or that's John Mahama administration, put together this sinking fund to have, especially the debt servicing, indeed, be done through the funds that accrue into this sinking fund. We didn't see much of that approach or that policy approach in the 8-year period of Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. But President Mahama, according to this statement, expresses commitment to the government's honoring of all obligations under the DDEP, and through the 2025 budget statement, government will announce further measures that would help to restore market confidence in the economy, prioritize spending, and improve transparency and accountability in public financing. So that is the statement that's coming through, and ultimately, the government seeking to restore fiscal prudence while ensuring value for money for every peso spent, despite a challenging economy that was bequeathed by the previous administration, and the government is expressing a commitment and determination to bring back a stable cedi, control the spiraling inflation, and create jobs for the teeming young people. Dr. Edward Anienchi is the convener for the one of the 3 bondholder groups that we had in this country during that DDEP period. And Dr. Edward Anienchi is joining us on the telephone. Doc, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Hello, Doc.
Good evening.
Great. I mean, this news of some 9.7 billion cedis paid to the domestic debt exchange program persons who participated, the bondholders who participated in this DDEP, must come at some good news for you, correct?
Yes, of course. If bondholders are going to be paid any amount at all, it's good for investors. But let me clarify that for people who were exempted or who didn't submit their bonds for the exchange, they have always been paid every week when the coupon is due. They have been paid, so we don't have a problem there. What government is paying now is for people who put in their bonds for the new bonds, those who exchange their bonds. And the settlement date was in February, I think February 17th. And so August 17th, something is due. Then another February, something is due. Then another again, August, something is due. This is about the fourth coupon that is due for the bonds that were exchanged. Normally, it's a big amount because all bondholders have to enjoy that. All those who exchange their bonds have to enjoy that. So it comes just once every 6 months, and therefore very, very heavy in terms of the quantum of the figure that must be paid. So government now is to pay that, and the statement is saying it's being paid. Today is Monday. Normally by this time the funds will be sent to the banks so that by tomorrow, latest Wednesday, people's accounts will be credited. So that is good, so that the continuation or the continuity of the payments will be there, because this is the fourth one. NPP time, they pay 3 of the coupons, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months. This is the fourth time, and people who are thinking that a change of government may bring some challenges, I think they are now comforted that no, the new government will continue to pay us when these coupons are due. So that is fine.
I see. But then again, the statement gives some categories and different forms of payment. So we see a little over 6 billion paid in cash to all the DDEP bondholders. But then again, some 3.46 billion honored the payment in kind. That's PIK portion of the entire exchange program, which has been deposited into respective bondholder securities account in line with the DDEP memorandum. What is this PIK? And just for the benefit of our viewers to understand.
The bond exchange, the exchange program, the corporate side, they were treated differently from the individuals. The individuals get their money straight. The corporates were getting something that they call the payment in kind. So that is for the corporates. Corporates who were like the banks, insurance, except the mutual funds and unit trusts, which were treated as individuals. The other corporates, they had that payment in kind in addition to the cash payment. But for individuals, it is only cash payment that everybody gets. That's individual 10%. If you are individual and you are above, you are 59 above, yours is 15% as per the condition. So that is what it's talking about.
I see. And that also comes in then to that point about the 9.7 billion cedis. You talk about the next coupon that's going to be paid, because this is the fourth coupon that has been paid. The fifth coupon, we understand from this statement, a little over 9.7 billion has been set aside for the payment. So that is a schedule that, per this statement, government has indicated the commitment to honor that one as well. Dr. Ng.
Yeah, if government has paid some amount into a sinking fund, then investors are assured that when the time comes, which will be in August, let's say August, because the settlement period day was 17th February. So come the next payment day, which will be 6 months' time, investors are assured that money has been set aside already for the payment. So nobody will have any challenge with that. You are not going to wait for government to say, oh, I don't have the money to pay you, so give me 1 day or 2 days. Once it is put in the sinking fund, then that is reserved for the payment. So investors are happy when you have set aside amount to pay for the coupons. That is a good thing.
See, Dr. Nanchi, appreciate your time on this. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us here in Ghana tonight. Dr. Edouard Nanchi is a convener for the Locked Up Investment Forum and also a convener for one of 3 individual bondholder groups. And it gives that indication, a breakdown of the payments that have been made and the categories of these DDEP participants who are benefiting from this payment, over 6 billion cedis, as announced today in that statement. But let's still stay on the matters of the economy. President John Dramani Mahama gives an indication of how his government intends to proceed with Ghana's International Monetary Fund agreement. Now, we have the details, including a conversation with an economist and a lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School on this. But earlier, President John Dramani Mahama says that it's become necessary for his administration to look at the whole tax handle, Ghana's tax regime, occasioned by the IMF deal, so as to rationalize them, making them more transparent and easy to understand. And this, he believes, would ensure better tax compliance for people to also know what their taxes are being used for. He was speaking at the Munich Security Conference over the weekend. Take a look.
Happily, we have just had a staff visit, and so our Ministry of Finance is engaging with the IMF. There were few issues. We were not at the table when this agreement was drawn up, and so coming into government, there are a few issues that we thought we should raise with the IMF, including the issue of tax rationalization. Because of the target of achieving 24% revenue to GDP by 2028, the program required that revenue should continue increasing at a certain rate. Unfortunately, what the previous government had done was just to slap on more taxes. And we had gotten to a stage where the more taxes that were put on, the less revenue that came in. And so it's necessary for us to look at the whole tax handle, rationalize them, make them more transparent, easy to understand, so that we can have better compliance. We've had that discussion with the IMF, and the IMF have agreed to provide technical assistance for us to do that rationalization. We've not talked about an extension of the program. We are determined to continue with this program. I think that it means that we must be more prudent in our handling of our finances. We must also look on the expenditure side and see how we can cut waste and also shift resources to more priority programs. And so it's a whole basket that we're looking at. We also have the issue of the debt restructuring and the humps that have been created. This year, we have to pay in excess of 15 billion on the domestic debt exchange. So what we've done is to reactivate the sinking fund and put more resources into it to take care of the repayments that have to be made this year. But all in all, we have a cordial relation with the IMF. The next review, which will be the 4th review, is due in April. But before that, we'll present the budget in March. And so the budget will take into focus some of the issues that have come out from the staff mission. We're hoping to receive the aid memoir today or tomorrow. And looking at the issues that IMF raises, we'll incorporate them in the budget.
Well, so that's President John Dramani Mahama there. And we've seen the cedi continue to struggle against the dollar. And then he talks about the policies that will be put in place to address this. And then for the first time in 2025, we've seen the fuel prices reduce at the pumps, beginning in the second pricing window in this month, that's today. And it's one that we'll keep an eye on how things play out. But these are the issues that President John Mahama gives indication of. What's the way forward? Tax rationalization, 24% of revenue to GDP target by 2028. And our tax to GDP is just around 13% now. In fact, the target was 18%. It says by 2028, we're hitting 24%. That's tax revenue to GDP. It's a challenge. But then again, it talks about the policies that will be put in place to rake in more revenue domestically. And remember, we're still shut out of the international market. We cannot go out to borrow. We've seen a lot of reliance on the treasury bills. But then again, we've seen the increase in the interest on the treasury bills unsustainable. Government has had to reject some of the treasury bills, that's the bids that came through sometime last week or two, and the reactions from the market has been divergent. But then again, it's to stabilize the target as we speak. There's also that proposal to have at least government increase the confidence in the bonds again, so that people can have confidence in investing in government bonds because of what happened, at least in the last 8 years that we saw the DDP haircuts given, confidence lost. But this is the target. Prudence in handling finances, expenditure to be relooked at to cut waste, and then also the shifting of resources to more priority programs. And that debt restructure, we talked about 15 billion DDEP, and President Mahama touched on that as well. And Professor Lord Mensah is a lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. He's joining us on Zoom right now. Professor Lord Mensah, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. First off, find out from you, these indicators and the way forward that President John Mahama talks about, way to go from where you sit?
So from where I sit, it's a good signal because, see, if you're under an IMF program, you don't really get to know the full scale and the true state of, your economy. And so if the president has given out, a statement which he indicates that there's no possibility of IMF program, and I think it's a good signal because he may want to know the kind of economy he's managing without, any control. And from where I sit, any economy that is being detected by IMF's controls, you don't really see government's, performance, being indicated, from these controls. So if the president has given us that signal, then I believe that he may want to own, the economy, not an economy that, as if you are having kind of, parallel management, scheme, where the IMF on one hand will be having, management eyes on the economy, at the same time, government having, management eyes on the economy. So if the president has given us a signal that he's not going to extend the IMF program, then probably he wants to be in control. And that is a good sign. It's someone who wants to, be at the helm of affairs as far as economic management of the country is concerned.
I see, but the president talks about reforms in our tax regime and possible review of some of the tax handles and abolishing some tax handles as well, and a downward review of some of them. But then we also have the target of increasing tax to GDP to 24% by end year 2028, and mid-year target of 18%. But we cannot also go onto the international market. In your view, how can government navigate this path with all the constraints before it?
Listening to this question, I try to navigate, and try to sequence situations for the past few days. Clearly, you could see government wants to reorient the economy from tax dependence to export. And we can see that from the statement the Agric Minister made on the floor of Parliament, that they're going to give cocoa farmers 70% of world market price of cocoa, which is a sign or a good thing, in a way, boost the confidence of cocoa farmers to produce more so that we can export more. I also, got a news online that, the Shippers Council and all those who matters in the shipping space, export space, are having meetings. They've had meetings from last Wednesday all the way to the Friday past. And I can tell you that they're all in a bid of enhancing export. So probably government is aware that as we're going to remove, some nuisance taxes, possibly that will be, a cost to us as a result of, revenue generation. And by so doing, they intend to replace that with export enhancement, policies. And for me, it's a good signal because taxes up to a certain point can choke consumption. It can even hold up, production, and that can affect, the economy. So if government wants to reorient, the economy from tax dependence to, production, it's a good thing. Well, that is what we need as a country.
Well, indeed. We'll see how, indeed, the coming days will look like, especially because of some of the pointers that the president put out over the weekend in that interview. But thank you. Professor Lord Mensah is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School there, a finance expert as well. But this is Ghana Tonight. Away from the finances and the economy, another area of concern is health, because apart from the meningitis that has claimed 16 lives as we speak, the cholera outbreak as well, the death toll is not looking good. There's a 4-day cholera vaccination exercise in the Greater Accra region aimed at vaccinating 300,000 people. It's ended. The next step would be focusing on the central region. The Ghana Health Service has indicated some selected districts in the central region with the highest number of confirmed cases. Ifutu municipality is one. Agona West remains a major hotspot as well. So health officials are working urgently to control the spread. But this is the death toll, 40 so far. And this is across the number of regions, over 6,000 cases across the country, 500 confirmed out of the 6,000 suspected cases. Out of the 500, 200 of them are in the Greater Accra region. It started from Adan East and spreading some parts of the Greater Accra region. 80% of the infected individuals show no symptoms, and that's where the concern is. And these are the 4 regions where the cases have been confirmed. Dr. Thomas Winsum Anamba is the Member of Parliament for the Garu constituency, is a public health expert, joining us on Zoom right now. Dr. Thomas Anaba, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight.
Good evening, Mr. Okansi, and good evening to your cherished viewers and listeners.
For now, we've seen a lot of focus on the vaccination. 4 days it's ended in the Greater Accra region, going to the central region. From the public health perspective, what other intervention mechanisms should accompany the vaccination as we are seeing now?
I think whilst the vaccination is going on, education should be accompanying the vaccinations to let people understand the symptoms of the disease and report early to hospitals so that they don't get complicated and treatment becoming so complex. The other issue we should do is the education on how the disease is transmitted and how to prevent acquiring the disease. We should emphasize on that alongside the vaccinations, and then also provide the needed logistics to the areas that are affected so that patients, when they come, there wouldn't be that problem in managing them, while the logistics in managing them are available. I mean, antibiotics, IV fluids, and at least linen and the rest, and the needed materials to treat somebody with profuse diarrhea and vomiting together with dehydration. Then these are some of the things that we should be doing alongside the vaccination, because the vaccination is to prevent, but those that are suffering the disease acutely need quick treatment. We should also be emphasizing on how to maintain hygiene, sanitation in communities that are involved. people should be taught on how to dispose their waste and then avoid defecating in areas that would go a long way to contaminate our waters and our food. Food vendors should be educated, like the minister and then the director of Ghana Health Service have gone to some of the communities to do. We have to amplify this, cascade it around, and then make sure that food vendors understand how to handle food and how to prepare them very well. The teaching of the general public, as I've said already, must be one important thing that we should be doing alongside the vaccinations.
I mean, aside from the Ghana Health Service doing its work, other agencies, I mean, you talk about the food vendors. The Food and Drugs Authority has a responsibility there, is it not, to inspect these food vendors, license them. This clearly is not going on as expected, and that's why we see some of the food vendors and where they are selling.
In fact, you know, in Ghana, we don't have control over people selling food on the streets. Anybody who just have a saucepan, a coal pot, and has a need to make money to feed his family would jump out to any gutter and prepare food to sell. And people are also walking about, they need food to eat, they'll go for it. Really, the control of food vendors should be the district assembly's job. Should be the district assembly's job, because they have a public health department in the assembly that is supposed to control the markets and areas that they sell food, because they take taxes from them and then the rest. They are supposed to monitor that. But I can tell you that it is not being done, because it is not possible. Anybody at all is selling food anywhere at all they want. And even people try to patronize even those who sell at very wrong places, because those people live in those areas and they don't see anything wrong with it. So what is more important is the education. When education is done, and then we bring in stringent laws to regulate those who are selling food at wrong places, who are selling unhygienic food, people will understand why we are preventing them from selling. Though the Food and Drugs Board is responsible for food, guaranteeing that we eat good food, but it should be the assembly who should implement this to make sure they regulate food vendors in the roads, in the streets, and anywhere they are selling food. It should be them.
I see. And maybe quickly and finally before we go, especially because these cases have been recorded in 4 regions and the possibility of it spreading is very high. What should be the containment measures to be able to deal with this?
Like they are doing, the government is rushing everywhere with drugs to treat. They are doing education. That is treatments that we need right now to prevent it. Make sure that people defecate at the right place. But the real problem in eliminating cholera, we have to hold the bull by the horn and develop infrastructure that will prevent it from happening. Make sure we get water everywhere in our villages, in our towns, potable water for drinking and for cooking. I think if we had held and implemented His Excellency Bawumia's policy in 2016, that said that every village would have no drinking water problem and toilet problem. If we had actually implemented this policy, I don't think we would have been having this. So long term, if we don't want it to be reoccurring every year, let's ensure that we invest money in getting potable drinking water to all our communities in Ghana, and also making sure that we get good sanitation facilities in open places, in marketplaces, in our homes, ensuring that there is toilet facilities, no one defecates by the gutters, and no one defecates by a riverside. That way, we'll be able to prevent the reoccurrence of it. But for now, I think the measures they've taken are doing well. They are being controlled very well.
Dr. Thomas Winsom Anaba, thank you very much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. A member of Parliament for the Garu constituency, a public health expert. This is Ghana Tonight. We're back shortly. We'll deal with matters of education. Stay with us.
You know, 1 bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior. You know, 1 bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo Paint, simply
Step up with DSTV and we'll show up by giving you more incredible entertainment.
Going to have a little fun.
Upgrade your subscription between the 13th of January and the 31st of March and get an even higher package for a whole month on us.
Buckle up, here we go.
There's nothing better than putting a bit in but getting a lot out.
Time to boost some office morale.
Well, welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. Now, coming up next, Education Minister Haruna Idrisu has announced the return of the Parent Teachers Association for public schools. We ask, is this the beginning of bigger reforms to be expected in the education sector? This is Haruna Idrisu earlier today on the decision to reinstate or reintroduce Parent Teachers Association in public schools. Take a look.
Call. He is urging government and the states that when we promise free, which the free will mean investment in infrastructure, investment in textbooks and exercise books, investment in the quality of teachers. He assures me again that he will invest in motivating teachers in this particular area to give their best to our young people. I am particularly happy to announce that PTAs will be introduced back into the management of education under the presidency of Excellency Dr. Dramani Mahama to work for parents and teachers to work together to improve learning outcomes in our educational institutions and for PTAs to support our educational institutions.
Well, let's just give you a background to this. The actual administration, a decision was taken that the Parent Teachers Association would not be a formal part of the education structure. Do away with the PTAs. They shouldn't contribute to the welfare of the children. The state was going to take up the full responsibility of catering for children in the senior high schools especially, and because of the free senior high school policy. Well, this was Michael Nsowa, council chair of the GES, as at the time, sometime in January 2019, quoted as saying heads of senior high schools are warned that under no circumstance are they to get involved in the collection of PTA dues and levies. Then that was reinforced by Professor Kwesi Opoku-Amankwa, Director General of the GES, at the time, same period in January 2019, that the PTA dues and levies are defeating the objective of government in removing cost as a barrier to secondary education in Ghana. So that was the issue at hand. And because of the introduction of the free senior high school policy, the PTA dues and levies were abolished. And you recall, a number of heads of senior high schools were either interdicted or made to face the disciplinary committee of the Ghana Education Service for accepting help from parents, even unsolicited help. Some of them got into trouble because of that. Now, that is what happened with this particular issue. So with the reintroduction of this Parent-Teacher Association and also that's the levies and dues, there are many who are pointing to the fact that now parents, a number of them also saying this is some relief because of the challenges that we saw with the free senior high school policy and the fact that even with the policy being in place, parents were being asked to still, contribute to take care of your child or your child will not be taken care of. So it was as though, even though the PTA had been abolished formally, informally, it was going on. And Dr. Peter Patianti has been on this for a very long time. Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies is joining us on Zoom right now. Dr. Anti, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Hello?
Hello, good evening, Alfred. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Now, this is a call that you have made consistently, that the PTA should be brought back. Now, the Minister of Education has heard it. What's your take on this?
I think it's a good news that we having the PTA back. I believe that one of the accountability measures in the education system is the Parents-Teacher Association, where parents have some sort of interaction with teachers, and teachers also interact with parents to see how best they will be able to offer quality education for the children. Again, it enables it's a way of generating funds to support certain infrastructural projects and other things that needs to be carried out in the school. So all over the world, parents are an integral part of the school system. And that is why in most of the private schools, you see the schools doing open days where parents go in there, enter the classroom, interact with teachers, check their awards, exercise books, and so on and so forth. All these are done to ensure that the parent is felt, the parent feels that they are part of the whole education system. Again, you would agree with me that the socialization process of the child begins in the house. So the child learns how to walk, talk, and do so many things in the house before the child is taken to school. So it makes no sense for you to cut the parents away when the child is now growing and getting education from the school system. At the end of the day, the child gets back to the house. So that interaction should always be there, and that is why we didn't support that idea of creating something they call Parent Association, where parents were supposed to meet and deliberate about their children, and teachers were not supposed to be part of that particular deliberation. Meanwhile, the meetings were held in the school, so you don't even see the need and the use of that. So I think it's a good thing that the minister has done. We need to applaud him and ensure that some of the challenges that were identified with the Parents-Teacher Association are addressed going forward.
I appreciate you for your time on this, and I know that this is a conversation that's going to continue. Thank you so much, Dr. Peter Patianti, Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies, IFS, there, joining us here on Ghana Tonight. But the NDC has been consistent with their manifesto provision, page 94 of the NDC Manifesto 2024 election. Said the NDC government will forge partnerships for the efficient delivery of secondary education, including restoring the role of parent-teachers associations and all student associations. So that's exactly what's happened now. On behalf of the rest of the team, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Ghana Tonight. Join us same time tomorrow for another conversation. My name is Alfred Akonse. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.